Hey folks, I'm Mike Seeklander, Team Wilson Combat sponsored shooter and the current IDPA National Champion. In terms of the match, I want to talk to you just real quickly about this year's National Championship. In the last few years, IDPA has done some rule changes. One of those big rule changes is the accuracy required to actually win at the national level. So before, when we dropped a point or shot in the down 1 or the down 3 areas, those down 1 or down 3 areas were equal to a half a second per point down. Now they've changed that recently to 1 second per point down. So for example, if I shoot outside of that 0 area on the IDPA target in the down 1 area, that's automatically 1 second added to my time. So in IDPA national level competitions, you literally cannot shoot fast enough to make up for a loss of accuracy. So, you know, my gun and ammo combination has to be extremely accurate. I have to know that I have a gun that's zeroed and it's very, very accurate. So this year's match was very unique in that it was in Talladega, Alabama. We had the heat and the humidity going on at the same time, so the conditions were very, very brutal, which was rough on the competitors. And you know, it also tested our gear to an extent where, you know, you have these different changing temperatures. We're dropping magazines, you know, in sandy or gravelly areas, so the gun has to run consistently. So very, very tough match, very accuracy intensive match in terms of the shots, the non-threats that were in front of the targets and stuff like that, as well as with moving targets. And you know, the bottom line is I did my job in terms of my training and preparation, and my gun and my gear did its job in terms of its reliability and functioning in the match, and those two combinations allowed me a national championship title. So obviously I'm sponsored by Wilson Combat, and in competition I shoot the Wilson Combat CQB Elite. This is a 9mm 1911, and this so happens to be my backup gun that I set up as my match gun this particular year. If you saw my other gun, you would see a lot more wear and tear on it. I'm pretty particular about how I want my 1911s set up, and Wilson Combat of course builds them exactly like I want them. This is a bushing barreled gun with a full-length guide rod. And I've got ambidextrous safeties on it, an adjustable rear sight, and a very, very precise, thin front sight. I like a precise, thin front sight, which allows me to see and read the sight picture, the sight to rear sight relationship a lot faster. Of course, I've got some good mag well and grips on that give me a lot of aggressiveness in terms of how I grip the handgun, because how I control it allows me to truly shoot at the speeds and accuracy levels that is required by IDPA, especially to win at the national level. So this is the monster behind the madness right here. So this is the gun, but I want to talk to you just a little bit about my training, about the match itself. So in training, typically I will shoot between 300 and 500 rounds in a practice session. Now, throughout the shooting year, I'm going to visit the range at least twice a week, but pre-match, I'm going to go to the range as much as 5 or 6 days a week. So I'm putting a lot of rounds through the guns. And one of the things that I absolutely have to have is a gun that's extremely reliable for 2 reasons. Number one, it has to work in the match, obviously, but more importantly, the gun has to work in practice. And when I say that, the point there is, if my gun is failing in practice, then that creates, you know, to an extent, a mental insecurity where I'm wondering whether or not the gun is going to perform in the match or not. So it's really, really important that I have a firearm, you know, an ammunition combination, because I'm sponsored not just in firearms, but also in Wilson Combat ammo that works every single time. Because over a given year, this particular gun probably has 25 or 30,000 rounds through it. My primary practice gun probably has upwards of 50 or 60,000 rounds through it. And the bottom line is, you know, this thing has to go bang every single time. So when I go to that match, which is a 2-day event, 2 half days, I'm completely confident that it's going to go bang in the match as well. And not just go bang, but be accurate and perform like I needed to perform with the functions and the features that I need on a gun like this to win a national championship. You know, the 3 things that you should look at in terms of reliability across the board, and your gun has to be reliable to compete at the national level, is the gun itself, the ammunition you're shooting, and of course I'm shooting the Wilson Combat ammo, and then your magazines. In this particular case, I actually shot the match with the new Wilson Combat designed mags. These are the new 9mm mags with the metal followers, and these things are extremely reliable. They feed reliably, they lock the slide back reliably, and they do everything they need to do, to include falling out of the gun. And if you're in a situation like in IDPA where we're constantly doing slide lock reloads, it's really important that the magazine actually locks the gun up like it needs to, but not before, as well as falls out of the gun itself. So real quick, I want to talk to you about the three things that you have to have and that I had, I think, that allowed me to be prepared to win. Number one, I had to have a seamless combination of my gun, my ammo, and my magazines. My gun and my ammo and my magazines ran great. They did their job in practice, and they absolutely did their job in the match, okay? Number two, I had to be mentally prepared. So mental preparation is not just some voodoo thing that I'm going to expect to happen in the match. It's a result of me having done the work. So in other words, when I left the last practice session that I had, I knew mentally that I had done everything I possibly could to prepare for the match. And if you go to a match or any event and you've done everything you can to prepare, now you are truly prepared to win or perform, to your best at that particular event. And that was one of the big keys. And then last but not least was my physical fitness. I knew we were going to have a late summer match. I knew that the match was in Talladega, Alabama. I knew it was going to be hot, extremely humid. I knew those conditions were going to be hard on my body. In IDPA or any practical shooting, we're starting, we're stopping, we're running, we're squatting, we're moving, we're doing all of these different things. And my physical fitness was really, really important to me. More so I had the endurance to last throughout the day and stay as consistent as possible, because one of the key things is your mental state is directly tied to your physical state. So I knew I had to have a high level of physical fitness. So in the end, I was fortunate enough to win my division title and be high overall in the match this year.